Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. You know, there's a difference when you say, I am conscious. It's very different than when you say, I am consciousness. I am conscious is like you have this thing. You know, I, the being who has consciousness. So we start to learn this path of owning up. You're owning up. You're no longer saying, I am conscious, but rather, my very nature is consciousness. So this is what it means when you start to recognize as this yourself as this very reality. One has to start claiming it, because all life we've been claiming everything you're not. And now suddenly a teacher says, hey, start claiming who you are. And like, no, I'm not comfortable. Of course you're not comfortable, because I've been saying all the things I'm not. So there's this point where we're not talking about affirmation, just repeating, I'm Brahman, I'm consciousness. This is not it. But there's a certain understanding that when I say I am consciousness, I'm that awareful presence which never comes and goes. So there's a certain understanding behind your statement, rather than just mindlessly saying, I am that. So that's the difference between an inquirer and someone who's just repeating statements mindlessly. So it's better to say, I am consciousness, and pause and think about, what did I just say in this moment? What does this mean? I'm consciousness. What comes up for you? I am consciousness. Huh? I'm aware. I am awareness. Because I am conscious, I am aware. Okay, yeah, you can, through that understanding. What else comes up for you?
What a relief, I'm conscious.
What a relief. Yeah, wonderful. See, that's emotional language. What a relief. So it doesn't have to be always intellectual. I am non-negatable presence. I'm the alupta drik. How would you make this into your own language so far? What comes up for you?
Expansion.
I don't fit
in the body.
Okay. I'm much bigger than this body and this mind.
It's okay because I'm conscious. If I faint, then I will be not conscious. Then in between there will be a partial consciousness.
Yeah, you can't have partial consciousness. Yeah, I mean, there is consciousness in the presence of whom you think you have partial consciousness, but it's not affected your consciousness. So consciousness is just that light that's there that you cannot get rid of. You can't get rid of yourself. Even upon death, when the body leaves one day, you can't get rid of yourself. All that happens is just, I've studied much on this death, nurses, they will report, they're very good at reporting what's it like, final days for the patients. And, patients just accept, I'm going to die. But then, what happens then? You can't now go and quickly get a 10-day Vedanta course quickly just to know what's going to happen after me. But there's fear. I am going to die because I put myself all my life in that which will die. So now it's a relief saying, the body's about to go, but the same I that's here remains. It's like one moment. The body's alive, I am. Body's dead, I am. And that's very beautiful. It changes your relationship to death. It's no longer a scary thing. It's just a liberation. Remember moksha? Much, to let go. And everyone can testify. All you really want to do is you want to let go. That's a very common phrase. Let go. Just let go. Oh, I can't. I just let go. So it comes through our language. Now the teacher is answering, reassuring the students 63 and 64. Satyam uktam tvaya vidvan nipunaha asi vicharane. Aham adi vikaraha te tat abhavaha ayam api anu. Sarve yena anubhuyante yaha swayam na anubhuyate Tam atmanam veditaram vidhi buddhya susukshmaya. He says all the changing states of the mind, like the ahamkara, thoughts, feelings, and their disappearances, like in deep sleep or coma, etc., are perceived by, quote, something constant behind them. That which knows all these experiences, but itself is never an object of experience, is the real self, your true nature, the pure knower. So, of course, he's saying this to a student who is now relatively qualified. We're not speaking this to a beginner anymore. And until then, the student, if they're not qualified, when we talk about, this ahamkara, the student is afraid of me being annihilated. And it stops the person from going further into the journey because they think, moksha is annihilation of me. But the truth is you always knew yourself as your true self all along. In fact, moksha is nothing but the loss of suffering. It's not the loss of you, it's the loss of suffering. So what are you losing? Do you want to lose suffering?
Yes.
Yeah, everyone does. No, that's why moksha is there. So the student needs to be ready to be able to accept this. Otherwise, they will hold on and say, no, I can't let go. I like my identity. I like my life. I like my things. But the Guru says, no, you don't get it. You're not losing anything that you're not already. You're not going to lose yourself being replaced by some different entity. That's not true. You're going to lose those things that are bothering you. Now the Guru continues and he says, to continue reassuring the student, in verse 65, the self, it shines as the I. Jagrat swapna sushuptishu sputataram yaha asau samujrambate pratyakrupataya sada ahamaham iti antaha spuran ekadha nana akara vikara bhaginaha iman pashyan aham dhi mukhan nitya ananda chit atmana spurati tam vidhi svam etam hrdi. May you know in your buddhi as yourself that Atma, as taught now, who clearly shines independently by itself in the waking, the dream, and the deep sleep, shining in the same form as I, as the innermost self, objectifying these various forms and modifications from ahankara onwards, and which shines in the form of ananda and consciousness that is not subject to time. It shines independently by itself in the three states. It requires no evidence. It is without a doubt evident to all, as I am. In other words, this light of awareness, it proves itself. Just the fact that there is a waking state now proves the presence of awareness. When there is a dream, in fact, when you say, I'm going to dream, I had a dream last night, it means there was something there. And I slept really well. It means there was something there. So it is the non-negatable presence which proves itself by the mere fact that you have three states of experience all your life. One bubble, another bubble, another bubble. You stack all those bubbles up eternally from backwards to forwards. And that's all you ever experience. That's all that's ever experienced, isn't it? Just three bubbles of experience. And you dump whatever you want in those bubbles. The point is you only ever experience three things. That's it. Three things. Even death happens in the waking state. Moksha happens in the waking state. Marriage happens in the waking state. Relationships happen in the waking state. In one waking state. And then there's a dream state where all of that stuff is totally forgotten, no connection to that, and yet there's a brand new world, but I am still there. That's how I know I dreamt. I didn't disappear. I didn't go out of existence in the dream. And I gladly want to release this life of mine that I'm holding on to so dearly to go to sleep, which means that I must be there in deep sleep too. Only to wake up and go, I slept so well. So it reveals itself how? Just like an eye. An eye reveals itself how? By the mere presence of sight. The nose reveals itself how? By the mere presence of smell. The ear reveals itself how? By the mere presence of sound. The skin reveals itself how? By the mere presence of touch. Taste reveals itself how? By the mere presence of Brahman tongue, if you want to call it. We have to give it some name. It's called tongue. So the tongue can't taste itself, ear can't hear itself, eye can't see itself, skin can't touch itself, but in the presence of it, all other experiences take place. Thus, in that sense, it is self-evidencing. It proves itself. And even concepts, like a mental concept, I don't have awareness. Awareness doesn't exist. It's just a bubble of thought in the presence of awareness. I have a level of consciousness. It is higher than yours. Mine's lower than yours. It's another bubble in the presence of consciousness. So no matter what concept you have in the waking state, it is just a bubble within a bubble within a bubble within a bubble, pervaded entirely by the non-negatable Aluptadrik. And it always shines in the same, in all experiences, as I. Isn't that true? What's the most common principle in every thought of yours? There's me, there's I. In the presence of I, there's a thought. So there's one uniform, same I in every experience. So in every experience or notion or idea, what do you find in it? You find I. But if you have thought about a flower and then you have a thought about a mountain, can you find the thought of a flower inside the thought of a mountain? Can you find the thought of a mountain inside the thought of a flower? No, because you have a thought of a flower, done, thought of a mountain, done. But what can you find in both the mountain thought and the flower thought? I. Therefore, it is the most universal, most common, most uninterrupting, most ever available presence in all thoughts. Same thing with emotion. Today I'm happy, yesterday I wasn't. While they cancel each other out, while the wasn't happy is not inside the happy, and the happy is not inside the wasn't happy, but if there's one thing inside them both, it's I. So that's the interpretation one, when it says I. Pratya gruptaya sada aham I iti antahas puranekada. So there's one I which pervades all and remains in all objects, shining equally as I, never more or less. Therefore, we're not talking about the ahamkara. We're talking about the light in whose presence that big person, big me, small me takes place. And an interpretation too of this I is that the I, the self, the Atma, illumines you can call it the small I, the ahamkara I. So I. So always shining as I. Shining as that I behind the small I, the ahamkara I. The ahamkara I that we all take ourselves to be, the one that's changing. What's shining behind it, or why is it known to be changing? It's known to be changing because of I. So it is the I behind the I. The pure, ever-present consciousness The awareness that's arising in all states of this relative changing I. Now, if you take this out, of course, then, what do? You don't have this, you not have knowledge of this I, then my only choice is this other I. And this other I always tries to mimic this I, tries to copy it. It tries to go, oh, I want to be you. I want to be limitless. So it does what? It makes its thoughts bigger. It attaches itself to important people, to important experiences. It's called spiritual resume. The second I is busy getting a spiritual resume in the world because it can't stand itself. So when it looks over, it goes, oh, you're limitless. I'm not. So then it's waste time. But Vedanta says, we're not here to get spiritual resumes. We're here to understand what is behind every experience, what's inside every experience. And then number 3, it continues, objectifying these various forms and modifications. In other words, turning them, objectifying them into what they are. So it says, each is seen. Every condition is seen. Pashyan. Every condition, every vritti, every modification of your mind, every state of your life is seen by awareness. Who sees every condition of your mind? Does somebody else do it? No. You have to answer, I. In the presence of I, that condition is seen. You won't even say I do it. In the presence of I, effortlessly, that condition is seen for what it is, different from the other conditions. And is not subject to time, Nityananda Chidatmana. When there's a small I, right, small person, then it's not a big person. So it depends upon time. Depends upon meeting with friends or, right, getting to a better situation. So it depends upon situations. But this is not subject to time. It is not touched by growth, by sustenance, by decay. That means it does not decay. That means you will never have your awareness go down, nor will your awareness ever go up. Think about what this means right now. The awareness that you're enjoying right now will never be any different than it is right now. There will not be any better awareness when your body dies. There's nothing to look forward to in the future. That means moksha, you will not be in touch with some other better awareness than you are in touch with right now. So there's no need to go, I'm going to hope for something big. Remember that Dr. Phil story when that deluded girl thought she was pregnant? And when they spoke of a motherhood, she perked up. 2-year pregnant woman, she wasn't pregnant at all, but she perked up thinking, I'm going to be a mother. That was a false perking up. That was a false happiness because she had an idea that she was pregnant. And so she got happy on an idea that was false. In that same way, when a person, a seeker, says, I'm going to get enlightened and all my problems will be solved because I'm going to be in a better state than I am right now, that is a mistake. You're just going to remove the wrong notion about who you are. You're still going to get your tax bills every year, and you're going to have to still pay for the inflation and the petrol prices and so on. Nothing has changed. You will never be in touch with a awareness different than the one that's available to you right now, whether enlightened or not. What does this mean? It means drop any ideas of hope for the better future. We even have to strip this away. You see, the Advaita is very different than giving you false, ideas. Okay, come back, and I'll give you something better next time. We just strip it all away. There's not bare naked, nothing to look forward to. Whatever I want, that reality that we speak of, Brahman, is right here, right now. It will never be subject to time. It will never be subject to change. It will never appear in the future in a better state. It will never disappear. It will never show up as something more sophisticated, advanced, more enlightened, more liberated, more vaster, a higher level of consciousness. That will never happen. Because by definition, it is Nityananda Chidatmana. It is untouched by time, untouched by, and what happens in time? Change. It is untouched by condition, untouched by levels. So there's no levels of consciousness or awareness, none of it. Just think about what this means right now. That means the ordinary, just most familiar awareness that is here and now, it will not be any better in the future. You're just playing a game of waiting.
But
Yeah.
what is there
Yeah.
to happen?
Yeah, so the mind still going those notions that I cannot settle. There has to be something more. That's the thing. So all we're really doing is just getting rid of those notions. There has to be something more. And when you get rid of that notion, then your body called Navya still continues doing the same thing it's always been doing because it was never you.
No, I can get that one. But what about, just simple, I'm a simple person. What about enlightenment? Like we're talking about enlightenment, the whole world is the. What are we talking about then?
We're talking about releasing the notion that I am not enlightened right now. Simple.
It's not even a notion, is it the truth?
Once the notion...
Realize it because we can talk about it, repeat it, and do things.
Yeah, and even after, you see, even after we remove the notion, we still have a lot of mind conditions still pulling one back into their old habits.
Yeah, but
It's not a freedom for the me, but from the me.
I understand the theory, but it's not the same as the experience or the non-experience or whatever.
So if you want to talk about moksha and experience, then as far as experience is concerned, it's called samatvam yoga uchyate. That means equanimous mind. There's nothing to look forward to anymore. I'm just available right here, right now, for the moment. Before enlightenment, I was always looking for something, a better Anandamaya Kosha, a better Annamaya Kosha, a better etc. It's just an instrument. It was never you to begin with. That's a huge shift. It's a ginormous shift. Like here I am carrying me. I am me. It's not you. It's a body. It's like somebody wearing like somebody else's body, basically. Like over there, like, okay, great, you do whatever you want. But when it comes here, oh, it's my body. So it's just creating that understanding that this is as much not mine as that is not mine. That's it. And the pressure falls off, of course. Now, ironically, much more productive, able to do what needs to be done, less fearful, more confident, just, flowing through life, being a contributor. Because that's the nature of the world, being a contributor.
So who's talking now? Who's talking now? You?
So the same person has been talking yesterday and before and before and before. It's just, as we said, 5 koshas programmed by their own conditions based on past karma and samskaras makes this personality what it is, and it's always been speaking. Before moksha, that person who's speaking thought that was me. After moksha, the person continues speaking, but there's a recognition it's a person speaking, not I. The constant awareness, in the presence of whom there's a person speaking. Okay? So that's just mechanics. Blah, 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 blah. It's like a robot, just moving arms around, according to the conditions that's always been going on.
But it is a robot.
Huh?
It is a robot.
You might as well just say it. It's a way to look at it. Of course, in Advaita, we wouldn't really call it a robot because it kind of kills off devotion, and bhakti is a huge part of this tradition.
If you say that nothing is changing, I understand that because it's already there. But as a person, probably you will change after moksha.
As a person changes, does a person change?
I think
Yeah, the person... Yeah. The person changed, that change led to moksha. It's not that moksha changes the person, but the very change that you engage prior as a mumukshu and a jijnasu, that hard work is what allowed the most changes to take place. Now, of course, see, the change is always going to happen. You cannot stop change. So now you can't say, oh, because the person changes because of moksha. The person is going to keep on changing till the last breath. Even without moksha, a person is going to change. So now why do I need moksha to say the person is going to change? You're changing all the time. In fact, just to be a spiritual aspirant, a lover of truth, implies you are very much into, you the body mind, are into change. Thinking right, changing perspectives, undoing distortions, emotional management, all these things are part of the journey. And the irony is, because the person has been so long in his journey, when moksha takes place, you think, oh, now they're changing. No, it's because of the momentum. The momentum is causing the person to continue changing. One's established those habits of change for 5 years as a sincere aspirant. That change simply as an impression continues to change the person.
I just want to add something to Nadia, what she was saying, because you asked what we are waiting then for in another incarnation. First of all, you don't need another incarnation. You can do it now. And second of all, this that we are all waiting for is to realize your true nature, that you are this absolute, and that all that's present in your life is depending on you. There is nothing else except you. There is existence if you are not there, this present. So, this is, I think,
Verse 66. This is some encouragement, continues by the Guru. He says, you can do this. You were made to succeed. Brahma abhinatva vijnanam bhava mokshasya karanam yena advitiyam anandam brahma sampadyate buddhaihi. That knowledge of the non-separateness of the self from Brahman, by which Brahman of the nature of non-dual happiness is gained by wise people, is the means for release from samsara. The most important here is knowledge of the non-separateness of self and Brahman. We've so far engaged in knowledge of who you are not. So we are on that process, in that journey. So what is samsara? Samsara is a notional wall. It's a conceptual wall between you and the whole. You think that you are different from that. That's called samsara. That means I'm a small being and the world is over there and I need the world to extract as much happiness as I can for myself. So when we say birth and death is samsara, what you're really saying is it is the world has been turned into a playground. This is where I come to play, basically. So that's based on your perception that the world has something to give me, who am incomplete. Therefore, this is where I come and get things. Did you notice? If there's one commonality that we all have on earth, is I come here to get stuff. That's it. Is there any other goal? I come here to get stuff. That's it. Why am I getting stuff? What does that imply? If I am the whole and I come here to get stuff, that implies I am not the whole. That's why we're all getting stuff. It also involves non-separateness. So we use an example of a cup. You see, what's ignorance? Ignorance is this all-pervasive space. Inside here, the space thinks I am this much. Because all-pervasive space, from the standpoint of this cup, thinks I am confined to this cup. Therefore, I am different and filled by the contents of this cup. So if you put Coca-Cola, do you actually affect the space with Coca-Cola inside here? No, because if you empty out the Coca-Cola and you put Fanta, then and you taste Fanta, it would taste like Coca-Cola. So in other words, the space never took on the attributes, no matter what kind of thoughts are dumped inside the subtle body. Maybe I'll put the word not dumped, but uploaded in the subtle body. Okay? So same thing there. The body is like this cup. The water or the liquid is like the subtle body here. And wherever you empty out this water, you can put a different kind of water. That's called a different kind of thought. But irrespective, the space can always accommodate that next thought, because the next liquid, because it's never taking on an attribute. So like that, your subtle body is like a thought. It's like the liquid here. It can come inside your mind, leave your mind, it can come inside anyone's mind, but that universal awareness is attributeless, nothing sticks onto it, and it remains ever pure and free. And you see, we said, someone asked a question there, it was Navya, what am I waiting for then? It's a good question. Okay, look at it like this. Suppose an elephant was tied as a small elephant, tied by a rope for a long time, and the elephant grew into a mature elephant, and someone unties the rope. Because the elephant has this idea, this notional idea that I am tied, the elephant will have self-imposed limitations. The elephant is actually free. The elephant can walk away. The elephant is technically free. But it has a notion so deep inside it that it's just not able to be free. And so the guru elephant has to come over and say, dear elephant, you see, I know what's it like to be tied, because I too was tied one time. And it was a notion, it was genuine. It didn't exist. I was always free, but I thought I was tied. I was bound by the koshas. So what I want to show you is that, look at these other elephants. They're all free. And they're all free. So would you like to just take a step forward? One step, take that courageous, bold move to come to the retreat, says the Guru elephant. Says, okay, I might do that. And so the Guru elephant has to slowly lead the elephant out of this notion, this false notion that I am bound to this body. And it's not an overnight process. It does take some time. There's no magic pill to it. But either way, because we have the Shruti, we're able to slowly get the elephant out of this false notional idea that's simply not there. Yeah, all the koshas are like ropes. Yeah, and so one by one, you see how we negated them, we mentioned them. Here's what the rope looks like. It's not you. You're not tied by that. Verse 67. What is consciousness? Satyam jnanam anantam brahma vishuddham param swataha siddham nitya ananda eka rasam pratyak abhinam nirantaram jayati. Brahman, which is defined as existence, knowledge, and limitless, is free from impurities, beyond Maya, self-evident, happiness not bound by time or degree, and is always available, non-separate from oneself. So this is the verse that will talk about consciousness. And it starts with Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. It is existence, knowledge, and limitless. Now these three words, existence, knowledge, and limitless, they're not qualities. They're not attributes of Brahman. They are a single definition that defines Brahman, this reality, defines you in a way that you can understand who you are. So we need to understand that this word, these three words, you might think, I need to understand them all. Am I now existence? Am I knowledge? Am I limitless? Which one am I? Make up your mind. You're all three. And the crucial word here is actually anantam. Why? Why is the word limitless crucial? Because if you look at the word existence and knowledge, what are you going to do now? Suppose I say something exists, or knowledge. You take the word knowledge. What are you going to do naturally? More knowledge. What about the word existence? Beginning, excellent. Beginning and end. See how we look at these words as normal? Like, yeah, existence. I heard that a million times before. So we want to confine it to a definition. So the crucial word to prevent that is anantam, which is limitless or infinite. And that word prevents these false, limited interpretations. So let me show you. Let's do a little comparison, comparing Satyam Jnanam with limitations and then without limitations. And I just want you to see how what the difference is. So let's take the word Satyam. So ordinarily, when you think of existence, what do we think about existence? Let's just take an existent object. Isn't that how we usually look at existence? What's the problem with that? If I just go put a little dot there, how many limitations can you see with that? Space and time. It's located here, it's not located there, it's not located over there on that wall, it's not on the other side of the world. And notice how there was no dot. Now you have to wait. Let's wait. Boom, the right time has come. Let's draw a dot. So in other words, it depends on time and space. So here, if you look at the word existence, ordinarily you think of an existent object that exists over there, not over there, within time, now, not before. Now what about the word jnanam, knowledge? When I say knowledge, what comes to your mind? Knowledge.
Books in a library.
Books in a library, right? Acquiring knowledge about. So the limited word of knowledge is information. So let's just put jnanam here. Knowledge. And we said that the limitation is about. Knowledge about science, knowledge about geography, knowledge about history, knowledge about Vedanta, knowledge about the self. See this? We're talking about theoretical knowledge now. Knowledge that arises at a specific time. For example, we all now go to a cooking class, and now we don't have that knowledge, but then we go to a cooking class and suddenly we acquire knowledge in time. That's the limitation. So what kind of knowledge is it? It's knowledge that comes and goes, isn't it? Knowledge about the tree, knowledge about the ice cream man, knowledge about the fan, knowledge about humor. Okay? So there's always, if it's knowledge about humor, it's not knowledge about ice cream. Knowledge about ice cream is not knowledge about the moon. So they are divided. They're cut into pieces. And to whom does knowledge usually belong? To one single mind, doesn't it? So your knowledge about accounting, I have knowledge about coding. Somebody else has knowledge about chiropractor, right? Knowledge. So we have different knowledges belonging to different minds. See the limitations here? Different knowledge about. If it's about this, it's not about that. Different knowledge within the mind. If it's in one mind, it's not another mind. Knowledge that comes in time, you have to wait for it. And you have to go somewhere to gain knowledge about that. So if you look at these words as purely literal meanings, you cannot understand Satyam Jnanam. Oh, great, you get to tell me about existent object? Okay, where is Brahman? Now I'm going to look for it. Oh, it's inside your... Go and meditate, and you will find an existent object. So this kind of knowledge is in Sanskrit we call this vritti jnanam. We're not talking about vritti jnanam. A modification, that means your mind has modified itself in the light of knowledge. For example, PhD knowledge. So vritti, that means your mind. Remember, vritti means mode of the mind or condition of the mind. So condition. So the condition of the mind has taken a state of knowledge that it's processing, that it's learning about. Now, let's look at the proper definition of these two words. And let's see how, when we introduce Anantam, how we have to remove certain limitations. And then we'll see what happens. So now let's look at Satyam. We started out Satyam as a object in place and time, an existent object. But Satyam, when you talk about yourself, we're not talking about an existent thing, are we? An existent thing that's born in time. We're talking about an existence itself that's true in the past, present, and the future. Now you say, what do you mean existence itself? We're talking about that existence that everything enjoys. Everything that you can remember in the past, what's one commonality of anything that I can remember? It exists, right? What about now? Anything that I can point out now? It exists. That's why you mention the object, because it exists. The pen, oh, look at a pen. Why am I mentioning a pen? Because the pen exists. So we're talking about that is aspect of a pen, that is aspect of your thought. Like your thought is, yeah, I want to share my thought with you. What does this mean? Because my thought exists, therefore let me share it. And then another thought, completely different, pops up, and now you say, oh, I want to share a thought about a holiday in Hawaii. Okay, so you were sharing about a holiday in Africa, and now a holiday in Hawaii. And they're both thoughts. And the thoughts are totally different, aren't they? But both thoughts depend upon existence. If the thought didn't exist, there's nothing to say. So both thoughts enjoy isness. That thought is. That sound of the aircon is. Experience is. That's why you mention your experience. So, now this word sat, we have to understand this word as a noun, not an adjective. Now look at this. Suppose I say to you that, this brown table exists. This table exists. Right? So you say, why did you say exists? Just say brown table. You see what happened here? I use the word existence like an adjective. Like brown table exists. Like it's just an adjective that you add onto the table. Wait a minute. The brown table exists? It's actually more like because of existence, the brown table is. Or suppose you say, this wooden box. Wooden box. It's like wooden, right? Wooden is just like an extra word you add onto the box. A wooden box? Without the wood, can you even say box? No. And yet we use this word wooden, like it's just wooden box. Where's the wooden box here? Look at this, wooden box. Who needs the word wooden? Just call it a box. But what does this box depend upon? It depends upon the wood. So instead of looking at things as making this shift from the world is full of existent things, we have to take a shift from world is full of existent things to existence is appearing as things. That's a massive shift, isn't it? Huh?
Difficult to understand.
Yeah, so the world is full of existent things. For example, this exists, this exists, this exists, right? Phone. When you say a noun like wood, okay? When you say like a box, what does this box depend upon? Wood. So now, when I say wooden box, what does that sound to you? Wooden box. Like wooden is an adjective that's describing the box. But if I take the wood out, do you have the box? Do you?
If you take the wood out, no. If you take
No.
the word out, yes, but
If I take the wood out, do I have the box? I don't have the box. So what I'm saying is instead of looking as, suppose you have a shop full of wooden things right now. Instead of seeing that shop as, oh, there's a box, there's a cup, there is a wooden harmonium, there's a wooden table, there's a wooden blackboard, there's a wooden ceiling, there's a wooden curtain, there's a wooden window. Rather, this shop is full of wood appearing as a box, a curtain, a fan, a ceiling, a blackboard. So in that same way, we have to change this idea that the world is full of independently existing things. Oh, this exists independently. It doesn't, because it depends on existence. Doesn't it? That's why I say harmonium is. That silent is. Harmonium exists, or harmonium is. Sound exists. So everything that I say exists. So what does everything in the world depend upon? Existence. So what did I say? Instead of looking at the world as a world full of independently existing things, I change my perception into the world is existence alone, appearing as different things. That's a huge shift in understanding. Because we are so used to giving independent existence to things. But in actuality, if you analyze everything or anything, it depends on existing in the first place. And we totally neglect that, don't we? We don't even like, what's the big deal, existence? But the truth is, everything exists. And that existence is who you are. That existence is appearing as your body, appearing as the sound, appearing as the teacher, appearing as the students, appearing as the light, appearing as the past, as the future, as the present, as the waking, as the dream, as everything.
Sorry, Andre, you said a sentence before, because of the box or whatever it is.
Because of existence, the box is.
Because of existence, the box is.
Because of what the box is, yeah.
Yep, okay.
What about absence of thought? What about thought? Thought exists, right? What about absence of thought? Does that exist? Yes, it does. That's why you say absence of thought. That means even absence of thought depends on existing. Otherwise, you wouldn't say, oh, I've got a clear mind right now. What about, let's take something simple. What about a pot? Like a pot here. Does a pot exist? Does a pot exist? Yes. Does a clay exist? That which makes up this pot? Now let's stop there. Can my eyes see further than this clay? Can my eyes see what this clay is made of? Can they see like atoms? Does that mean I should now stop my analysis? No, I need to continue my analysis. Does the pot exist? Yes. Does the clay exist? Yes. Does the silica exist? What makes this up? Do the atoms exist? I may not see them, but I know they make up this pot. So now I can discard the pot, but I can't discard the existence. I can discard the clay, but I can't discard the existence. I can discard the atoms, but I can't discard the existence. Because what is one thing that they all enjoy that I can't get rid of? Pot exists, clay exists, silica exists, atoms exists, protons exists, concepts exists. So what I can get rid of is the forms and the names. I can get rid of pot, gone, clay, gone, silica, gone, atoms, gone. But what can I not get rid of? That because of which they all depend for me to give them a name and form. The pot depends on existence for me to say pot. The clay depends on existence for me to say clay. The atom depends on existence for me to say atom. So you can't get rid of existence, because no matter what you reduce this pot into, whatever it is, whatever name you want to give it, even the names that we haven't yet discovered in science, what's going to be one commonality about that which is yet undiscovered? It exists no more than this thing that we have discovered exists. So now, do I have to keep reducing this, and then suddenly existence is going to go out of existence? If that happened, then this spot wouldn't be here. If this spot reduced into something and eventually that existence stopped, because of the cause-effect relationship, you would not have a pot right here. So this means no matter what this pot reduces into, if there's one thing that I know for sure, it reduces into existence, because you can't get rid of existence. Therefore, this term, satyam, I stop looking at the world full of existent things as if they're independent. No, they're completely dependent on their existence and whatever they're made of. And what about this? Trick question. Okay, object exists, absence of object exists. Awareness exists, absence of awareness. Can you do that? Why not? Aware.
There in order to say that there is absence of awareness.
Yeah, because if I said awareness exists, absence of awareness exists. Oh, really? I was fully aware while making that statement. You can't get rid of awareness. That is the only principle that you cannot apply absence of onto. And that's why we say if you cannot get rid of existence, you cannot equally get rid of awareness. That's why we say existence and awareness. They are one reality.
Advitiyam Anandam. What do you mean by non-dual happiness?
Non-dual fullness, non-dual completion. That means a completion that has no better or worse. It's the only, it's one of itself, which is contentment. It manifests as understanding that there's no other at the level of the body.
The difference between existence and consciousness.
Yeah, because consciousness exists. Otherwise, you wouldn't be conscious. So consciousness and existence, they are one reality seen from two different standpoints.
What are those standpoints?
Those standpoints we have to look at through a different teaching. When I look at, for example, a rock, Okay, let me do a little sample with you. See, is this conscious right now? Does this have consciousness? Is this like aware of you, or you're aware of this? You're aware of this. So this means there is consciousness. But this is not aware of you. So this doesn't have consciousness. Now, but what I can tell about this pot is that it exists. And I can't get rid of existence. We've just performed an inquiry. Do you understand that much? Why you can't get rid of existence? But look at this. At every level of analysis, is there awareness of the pot?
Yes.
Is there awareness of the clay?
Yes.
Is there awareness of silica?
Yes.
Is there awareness of atoms? If you could, right, see it. Is there awareness of proton and neutron? Is there awareness of whatever you want to reduce this into? Would there be awareness of that? Yeah, just because you can't see doesn't mean I have to now mention the name. So, did you notice how you can't get rid of awareness? But you can get rid of the pot. Because look at, why are you paying attention to this? Just let me just put some water here, squash it. Is it a pot now? No. So a minute ago I was calling it pot, pot, pot. But I can't get rid of the pot. I can't get rid of the clay. But I can get rid of the clay. Because if you look at clay under a microscope, it is something much smaller. So if there's two principles that you cannot get rid of, what are they? I cannot get rid of existence, and I cannot get rid of awareness. That which is true in the past, present, and future, which is non-negatable, which doesn't begin and doesn't end, is the final reality called Brahman. The pot can end, can't it? It ends. The clay can end when I look at it from a standpoint of an atom. An atom can end when I look at it from a standpoint of a particle. So it all ends. But what doesn't end is they all enjoy existence, and there is awareness of that very thing. Therefore, you can't get rid of these two variables. That's why they're one and the same reality.
But it seems that existence needs something.
It doesn't need something. Existence, that something is born in the presence of existence. Like, does this pot need the clay? Suppose the word existence, put it aside, we'll take the word clay for now. Suppose the word existence is this clay. Suppose I take the clay out. Is there a pot?
No.
Suppose I take the pot out. I squash it into a square. Does that take the clay out? Does the pot need the clay? Let me change the words. What depends on what? Does the pot depend on the clay, or the clay depends on the pot? Why does the pot depend upon the clay? Explain to me.
Because if there's no clay, there's no pot. If I have a bottle of clay, I can turn the pot.
Yeah.
It's the goal of the ring.
Does the clay need the pot?
No.
Super. But does the pot need the clay?
Yes.
For the pot to exist, does it need the clay?
Yes.
Ah, so what does this mean? An object requires existence for you to call that object an existent pot, a clay pot, an existent pot, a clay pot. So what does this mean? I can only call it a form because it depends upon something else. I can only call it a world because it depends upon existence.
It becomes more obvious, instead of saying a clay pot, you call it a pot of clay.
Yeah, so you call it potty clay, what? A boxy wood, right? This kind of thing. Wooden box, boxy wood. Yeah.
And clay consciousness, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Good. So clay appearing in a form of a pot. Is the clay taking on the shape of a pot? Is the pot stuck to the clay? If it was, then you couldn't have a smaller one, could you? So what does this mean? The clay has to be free of a fat pot, of a small pot, of a sun pot, of a tree pot, of space pot, of fire pot, of all forms of pots, in order for the clay to manifest as such. The clay does not take any attributes. That's how it's able to manifest as something that you call it a pot. But you only call it a pot. Why? Because it depends upon the clay, depends upon existence. Now, when I say Satyam is existence, when I say instead of seeing the world full of existent things, rather see the world as existence, like clay, taking the shape, taking the appearance of the world, the potten world for now. Don't worry, I'll bring this down to real world. For now, we're just very simple, the pot. Does this make a little bit more sense now?
But did you mention there we can say absence of existence?
Absence of?
Absence of existence. That's possible, right?
No, because there will be like saying absence of the clay, then you couldn't have forms.
But if I take away the clay or the pot, that's the absence of the pot.
The absence of the pot does not equal the absence of the clay. Because the absence of a pot, all that means is you've just squashed this into something else. So I no longer call it a pot, but what's still there? What's still there? The clay. So I can change this into a million different combinations.
So we can never say there's an absence of existence.
Well, it does not exist.
No, you cannot say absence of existence. You can say absence of name and form. But absence of name and form does not negate its substance. Absence of the pot does not mean absence of the clay. It just means change of the clay into something else.
But why can't we say absence of existence? Period.
You can't say absence of existence because if that was true, then there will be no one to make that statement. Everything exists.
Similar to awareness.
Similar to awareness.
Is it really similar or?
Exactly like awareness.
Is it exactly?
Exactly like awareness. Exactly.
So that I didn't understand.
Hmm?
That's why I didn't understand that it's exactly the same.
It's exactly the same. And this will be more clear when I see we're still early in the teaching, and I'm glad you're throwing objections because this will pave a way for the inquiry.
You asked earlier if the pot needs the clay, and I would say no, because the pot, it doesn't exist. It's just name and form momentarily, so it doesn't need anything. The clay is independent of.
Yeah, the clay is independent of the pot. Because if the clay was dependent on the pot, that means, you know, when I break this, suppose I break this into 1,000 pieces, what breaks, the pot or the clay? The pot, the name and form. The clay is still there. I can take that clay, wet it, make it into something else. The clay never got broken. So now if I attach myself to this, oh God, my pot is gone. What am I putting importance onto? Clay in the form of pot. And so I get attached to existence in the form of my partner, existence in the form of Manomaya Kosha, existence in the form of Annamaya Kosha, existence in the form of Anandamaya Kosha. I get attached to names and forms, and yet it is one existence taking infinite amount of forms. And every person gets attached to none other than existence, taking the form of that. So now if you understand that all that is here is existence, that's all you're ever getting attached. There's nothing but existence here. So what are you really getting attached to? Suppose you and I walk into a big store of pots, okay? And we are just scrambling. No, I want that big bowl. No, I want it. And we start a fight. Because nobody wants this teeny weeny thing. We want just a ginormous pot. Nobody wants this. And then someone says, hey, why are you fighting over the same thing? You're fighting around clay. You're fighting around existence. So what do we give value to? We give value to existence in the form of an object that you fancy according to your likes and dislikes. That's all. More on this to come. Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Avashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.